Hello everyone, EtherSong here, and I'm back with another Baldur's Gate 3 video. Today's video is looking at the Way of Shadow Monk subclass. The Monk class and this subclass will be added to the game at release. I will be using parts of the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition rules as reference, but some changes may be made to the class upon its introduction to the game. To begin, let me give an overview of the subclass. At level 3 Monk, you get to choose your monastic tradition. These are subclass options and include Way of the Open Hand, Way of the Four Elements, and Way of the Shadow. Monks of the Way of the Shadow are described as such. Monks of the Way of the Shadow follow a tradition that values stealth and subterfuge. These monks might be called ninjas or shadow dancers, and they serve as spies and assassins. Sometimes the members of a ninja monastery are family members forming a clan sworn to secrecy about their arts and missions. Other monasteries are more like thieves' guilds, hiring out their services to nobles, rich merchants, or anyone else who can pay their fees. Regardless of their methods, the head of these monasteries expect unquestioning obedience of their students. Starting when you choose this tradition at 3rd level, you can use your key to duplicate the effects of certain spells. As an action, you can spend 2 key points to cast Darkness, Dark Vision, Pass Without Trace, or Silence. Additionally, you gain the Minor Illusion cantrip. At level 6, you gain the Shadow Step ability, which allows you to step from one shadow into another. When you are in dim light or darkness, as a bonus action, you can teleport up to 60 feet to an unoccupied space you can see that is also in dim light or darkness. You then have advantage on the first melee attack you make before the end of the turn. This looks like it'll be a very fun ability to use that will let you teleport around in the darkness at will. This will most likely be useful in places such as caves, dungeons, and Underdark. In combat, it can let you quickly ninja yourself behind an enemy and attack with advantage. Outside of combat, I see this as a very useful movement tool for exploration as well. When traveling in these dark places, you may see a treasure or some interesting area out of reach. But this teleport will allow you to warp to that location and check it out. Finally, at level 11, you gain the Cloak of Shadows ability. You have learned to become one with the shadows. When you are in an area of dim light or darkness, you can use your action to become invisible. You remain invisible until you make an attack, cast a spell, or are in an area of bright light. Well, free invisibility sounds great. This seems like it'll be a useful ability to sneak through dark areas, approach foes, or even run away if needed. As I said earlier, Way of Shadow monks get a variety of spells that can be cast starting at level 3 for 2 key points. Key is a unique energy mechanic for the monk that allows them to cast a variety of skills. In standard D&D rules, monks would start with 2 key points at level 2 and gain 1 more key per level. However, Baldur's Gate 3 has been making some changes to the monk. It appears that they will start with 2 key points at level 1 and then gain 1 key per level. As such, it seems like they will have 1 more key overall as compared to the standard rules. Let's look at each of the spells you will receive. To begin, the Darkness spell allows you to create a cloud of magical darkness to heavily obscure and blind creatures within. Creatures cannot make ranged attacks into or out of the darkness. This can be useful for blinding foes in an area or allowing you to take on a foe one-on-one without worrying about being targeted from outside of the darkness by ranged foes. Next, the Dark Vision spell allows you to touch a willing creature and grant it dark vision. It is worth noting that I do not believe you'll be able to see or fight effectively within your own darkness created by the spell, even with dark vision. Pass Without Trace allows you to call forth a veil of shadow and silence that gives you and nearby allies plus 10 bonus to stealth checks. This is a very powerful stealth buff for your whole team that can let you maneuver them through dangerous areas and get them into advantageous locations before battles. Continuing on, Silence lets you create a soundproof sphere. All within are silenced and immune to thunder damage. And finally, the Minor Illusion cantrip lets you create an illusionary image that distracts nearby creatures, compelling them to investigate. You can remain hidden while casting this spell. This cantrip looks to be useful for a quick distraction to help turn enemies' attention one way while you prepare to sneak by or attack. So overall, you get a variety of spells that go along with the ninja or assassin type of theme for this monk. Next, let's look at creating a character for a Way of the Shadow monk. As a monk, you are going to want high dexterity and wisdom and also some constitution. Dexterity is important for both your armor class and attacks. As a monk, you gain the martial arts ability starting at level 1. With martial arts, you gain the following benefits while you are unarmed and wielding only monk weapons in addition to not wearing armor or wielding a shield. You can use dexterity instead of strength for the attack and damage rolls of your unarmed strikes and monk weapons. You can roll a d4 in the place of the normal damage of your unarmed strike or monk weapon. This die changes as you level up. And finally, when you use the attack action with an unarmed strike or a monk weapon on your turn, you can make one unarmed strike as a bonus action. For example, if you take the attack action and then attack with a quarterstaff, you can make an unarmed strike as a bonus action, assuming you haven't already taken a bonus action this turn. So basically, as long as you have a monk weapon, you can use dexterity instead of strength for your attacks and damage rolls, and you can also perform unarmed strikes as bonus actions. One thing to note here is that monk weapons are normally limited to short swords and simple melee weapons. However, Fexterlife's monk video said that in Baldur's Gate 3, any weapon that you have proficiency in is considered a monk weapon. This opens up numerous possibilities for builds that have not been seen in the tabletop rules. In any case, dexterity will be important both because of its armor bonus as well as how it works with monk abilities like martial arts. Next, wisdom is important because of monk's unarmored defense ability. Beginning at first level, while you are wearing no armor and not wielding a shield, your AC, your armor class, equals 10 plus your dexterity modifier plus your wisdom modifier. Thus, wisdom becomes another armor modifier for the monks. In addition, wisdom makes it more difficult for enemies to resist your monk abilities. Finally, constitution will increase your health. One potential ability spread could look like this with dexterity at 17, constitution at 14, and wisdom at 15. At your first ability score improvement at level 4, you can bump your dexterity up to 18 and wisdom up to 16, increasing both their modifiers by 1. As for races that go well with the Way of the Shadow Monk, Wood Elves always seem like a good pick for stealthy classes. They get access to both Keen Senses and Mask of the Wild, giving you proficiency in both perception and stealth skill checks. They also have proficiency in a variety of weapons, including the longbow and longsword, have dark vision, fey ancestry, and a high base speed. Aside from Wood Elves, if it is true that any weapon you have proficiency in will count as a monk weapon, one option would be to choose a race based on the weapon proficiency it provides. For example, the Githyanki give you greatsword proficiency. If greatswords can be counted as a monk weapon like this, then you could be a greatsword wielding monk. Once again, remember, monks are able to use their dexterity stats instead of strength for attack and damage rolls. One other race that sticks out to me is the Drow. They give you both a perception proficiency as well as superior dark vision, which seems to be beneficial to a monk who lurks in the shadows. Next up, let's look at some useful feats. To begin is the Alert feat. This makes it so you can't be surprised. You gain +5 bonus to initiative. And finally, other creatures don't gain advantage on attack rolls against you as a result of being unseen by you. The third part of this feat pairs especially well with your darkness spell. If you are fighting an enemy in the darkness, you both become blinded. Blinded states that attack rolls against blinded creatures have advantage. However, while being blinded, attack rolls made have disadvantage. If both you and your opponent are blinded, advantage and disadvantage would cancel each other out. However, if you have the Alert feat, your opponent would not gain advantage against you. Thus, if both you and your opponent are standing in the darkness and become blinded, you would be able to attack your opponent normally, while your opponent would have disadvantage while attacking you. This would make your darkness area a very powerful zone for you to fight in. Next up, the Mobile feat pairs well with hit and run characters. It increases your movement speed, improves your dash, and makes it so you don't provoke an attack of opportunity while moving after making an attack. Moving on, the Resilient feat is a simple but powerful one. You could choose Wisdom to increase your Wisdom by 1 and give you proficiency in Wisdom saving throws. Finally, one other feat that stood out to me was Weapon Master. It would allow you to increase your dexterity by 1 as well as gain proficiency in 4 types of weapons. Like I said earlier, if weapon proficiency counts as a monk weapon, then you could pick and choose what type of weapons you would like to use on your monk. However, it might just be simpler to just gain weapon proficiencies by multiclassing. Speaking of multiclassing, let's look at some multiclassing options. I would like to note that I would personally take Way of Shadow Monk up to level 6 first for an extra attack and Shadow Step ability before multiclassing. For multiclassing, the first class I'm looking at is the Rogue. To begin as a Rogue, you can gain sneak attack damage and expertise in skills. At level 2, you're able to dash or disengage as a bonus action. Then at level 3, you gain more sneak damage and can take a subclass. Both the Thief and Assassin subclasses look like they would pair well with the Shadow Monk. Thief would grant you additional bonus action and fall damage resistance. The additional bonus action is incredibly powerful. You could use one bonus action as an unarmed strike or another to dash and disengage, or you could use 2 bonus actions for unarmed strikes. There's a lot of possibilities there. And then the fall damage resistance looks like it could pair well with the Monk's slow fall ability. As for the Assassin subclass, you gain the Assassinate ability that can help you deal a great amount of damage when engaging with the enemy. The next class that could be paired well with the Monk is the Ranger's Gloomstalker. This is a Ranger subclass available at level 3. It grants you the Dread Ambusher ability and Umbral Sight. Dread Ambusher would enable you to use your Wisdom modifier to increase your initiative. In addition, you gain movement speed and an extra attack at the start of combat. Beyond that, you also gain the Umbral Sight ability, which would let you gain dark vision and make it so creatures with dark vision can't see you in the dark. This feels like a strong match with the Way of Shadow playstyle. Rangers also give you proficiency in martial weapons, a few spells, and a few other abilities. The Barbarian also seems like a class that could be paired with a monk. The Barbarian class also has unarmored defense, but this one uses Constitution modifier instead of Wisdom. Perhaps it would be possible to make a monk barbarian and drop points out of Wisdom and focus on dexterity and Constitution. Barbarians also grant martial weapon proficiencies. All in all, it looks like the monk has a lot of multiclassing possibilities, but as always, be aware of what you'll be losing from multiclassing. By dropping monk levels, you would be decreasing your total key points, martial arts damage, and lose out on a variety of other features that you get based on your level. Overall, the Way of Shadow Monk looks like a very fun class to play. I'm especially interested in some of the changes Baldur's Gate 3 has made to the monk class. Looks like there will be a larger number of possibilities for how to play the class and with multi-classing compared to the tabletop version. Are you excited for this class? Do you have any builds in mind? Let me know in the comments. Before I go, I would like to give a shout out to the unofficial community Baldur's Gate 3 wiki. It is a wiki that isn't filled with ads or embedded streams like other alternatives. Take a look and feel free to contribute if you are interested. It can be found at bg3.wiki. In any case, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and I hope to see you next time. Later!